Hello, YouTube. This is Rainshine Fine coming at you with yet again another book review. If you do like the content, please like, subscribe, comment, and here we go. The book that I finished reading, took me some time, is The Healing Wisdom of Africa by Malidoma, Patrice, Somé. The Finding Life Purpose Through Nature, Ritual, and Community. So this book took me some time because every time I put it down, I felt like I had to really process, and this is my second time reading it. I had to really process and think about my own life and think about examples that he's talking about and how I can incorporate ritual, nature, community into the things I do to get me closer to spirit and my purpose. And there's so much that he talks about in here. But to keep the book review short, Malidoma Patrice Somé is a spiritual healer, was a spiritual healer. I apologize, he passed away a few years ago. From Burkina Faso. When the colonial lines were drawn, the ethnic group, which originally came from Ghana, from West Africa, was also part of southern Burkina Faso, which makes sense because Ghana and Burkina Faso border each other. He talks a lot about indigenous practices, rituals, spirituality, because it helped him heal. He was stolen as a child when he was a toddler by a French colonial priest, who took him to essentially a boarding school / prison, where he was pretty much indoctrinated into the Christian religion, and then suffered a lot of pain at the hands of, white men who thought that traditional and indigenous people were living in an undignified way or uncivilized like. So, of course, as the nature of a narcissistic society is to control others, they have very much succeeded on the continent in converting people to the various foreign religions, Islam, Christianity, and I believe some Judaism. Though there are some original Christians, I think that can be traced back to what is now Ethiopia. He flees his colonial boarding school / missionary upbringing at the age of 19 or 20, I believe, and goes back to his village, a home that he never really knew, and was frustrated, had a lot of anger, and through ritual practices and initiation, he essentially found his calling to help others in the West. So the book talks about the three things: nature, ritual, and community. Nature, in that human beings, we are disconnected from the natural world. The natural world and us are connected. We cannot survive without the natural world, yet the natural world can survive without us. We need not just food and resources from the natural world, but the healing that the natural world brings. When we step on the earth, when we plant our feet on the earth, when we acknowledge what the earth does for us, when we stop polluting our waters, when we recognize this Mother Nature, and live in harmony with it, our communities will be in harmony. Of course, me, somebody who's always talked about climate change with fellow friends and family members, and been very cognizant of the damage we're doing on the planet, the overpopulation, the decrease and running out of water that our society seems to just continue to ignore, the individualism, advancement and technology can live in harmony with nature. And he talks about that in the book. He talks about ritual. Ritual like using the aspects of nature to help bring people together and do ritual. In the Dagara cosmology, which is Dagara is the ethnic group that Malidoma comes from. He talks about the 5 elements: mineral, earth, nature, fire, and water, and how ritual can be done simply just between 2 people or more. By recognizing that part of us that is lacking. He goes in depth about the 5 elements. I will not talk about that right now. And performing ritual as a way to maintain our connection to our purpose. With ritual, you feel some sort of catharsis. For example, he talks about husband and wife. They have conflict, of course, in a marriage, like anyone does. And when you have conflict in a marriage, it's not just between 2 people, but he talks a lot about community. Community is needed because individuals can't heal on their own. It's about being in community and being recognized through community that we heal, and we feel that, yes, people can acknowledge our pain and our struggle and our healing. But when the pain is unrecognized and everyone tells you that you have to deal with things on your own, or you feel that you have to because you grew up in a society in the West where your problems are your own and no one else's, it leads to not truly healing or getting close to spirit. So a husband and wife can do a ritual where they are in front of a community, and that community has an understanding that they will not judge these 2 people. And every few days or however long they set, they will stand apart from each other. They will turn away, and then at some designated point, they'll turn around towards each other and start yelling about all the stuff that bothers them about the other person, getting it out in the open. And then at the end of doing all the yelling, they each pour a bowl of water on each other. And it's to cool, the water element is to cool the fire in them, the fire of anger and destruction, and conflict and needing to be right and wrong and control, things like that, which the society, the West, has a lot of. You would do that and you would feel some sort of catharsis. He talks about a lot of different rituals that you can do to get in connection with the 5 elements from the Dagara cosmology. Then he talks a lot about community. How in the West we're just taught to, in a lot of cultures, we're taught to deal with our issues on our own. And community is just seen as like, okay, I can go to church and that's my church community. I go to this group and that's my community. But that community does not allow you to truly be yourself and truly put your problems out there and truly be honest. Because when you're not allowed to be honest, to be truthful, to be yourself, that's not really community. So it's tough. It's tough to really read that because he talks about how groups, even though they're supposed to be community groups, they have some sort of uniformity that's unspoken. And so people act in a way that's not really 100% true to themselves. And that's not really community, and it's actually damaging because people cannot be their authentic self and they have to hide a bit of who they are, a bit of their opinion, a bit of their uniqueness. And a true community will allow you to be completely and utterly unique to who you are in that. And then that community will bring out your gifts, your purpose. Community is meant to reflect back to you and remind you what your purpose in this life is. Because a lot of us in this world, we ask ourselves the questions: who are we? Why are we here? What am I really doing? Is this the job I really want to do? Am I happy? you feel some sort of missingness inside of you. And he talks a lot about how when he started doing the work abroad and doing ceremony and ritual and doing things in community and getting in nature, that people really took to it and longed for it and would seek him to solve their issues. But for the most part, what you're seeking is within you, calling on the ancestors, and taking some of the indigenous ways and using that, completely being honest with yourself, talking to spirit, your ancestors, getting in communion with like doing the work, not in a bubble, letting your emotions be raw. It's just a lot of what he talks about. So the book it's not really long. It's about 300 pages, and it reads like I wouldn't say a story, but it's like almost like a manual. It's almost like, these are the things that I've noticed in society. This is where our society is going. It's up to us to get in connection with the spirit world. We must have community. Otherwise, the world will continue to like have that fire element. And so it took me time to get through it, but it's a very good read. And I will also recommend his book of Water and Spirit, which is much shorter than this one. But that tells about his upbringing, his personal life, how he got taken into a French Jesuit school, and how he came back to his family and changed and found his purpose. I will do the summary for that in a video in the future. Thank you so much. And this has been Rain Shine Fine. Thank you.